Well, welcome back to the second Coffee with Kerry. It's January the 3rd, a Sunday. I will not be producing videos this rapidly, but hey, it's still a holiday, so I thought I would cut one more. And on the last one, I talked about how Rich Dad Poor Dad is a good starting point for anybody looking to get into small business. That he does a real good job of setting the table there of you need to find a side hustle, something you're passionate about, and you need to have a lot better understanding of money and currency. Um, I read a lot more books, but the next thing I really got into where I learned a lot was off of YouTube. Independent content creators produce a lot of really great stuff that large content creators like ABC or NBC can or won't do. Independent content creator, like the first ones I started watching were around travel. My undergrad degrees in commercial aviation. I have flown all over the world and traveled all over the world and have a passion for it. And I got rid of everything negative in my Facebook and YouTube timeline that I could about 2 years ago and started just following independent creators for travel vlogs. And, it's just a guy and a camera or a guy and a girl and a camera, just like this. A lot of them were sailing, but they were traveling around and you were getting to see the raw, uncut um, version of whatever they were looking at. Well, there's a lot of that out there for any business and for one of the main topics in that book, which was money and currency. So every morning about 5:30 when I get up, I listen to a guy that hosts a YouTube channel called the Money GPS. And he goes through and reviews what the Fed did the following day. So he looks at the dollar, at the Federal Reserve, and he goes through the legitimate mainstream news and then kind of splices it together. He doesn't tell you what to do, he doesn't tell you what to invest in. He just tells you what's happening and the currency going up or down. I didn't understand any of it for a long time, but 2 months in, you're starting to follow along. 4 months in, you're up and running. I've still not got a PhD in money for sure, but I understand it a lot better. Another content creator there was a guy named Johnny Bravo, Jay Bravo. I'll leave all these links below. But he is a high school business teacher in California. Makes 100 grand a year. He'll say it on there all the time. Make 100 grand a year teaching high school. He sells stuff on Amazon and he does swing trading. And he actually offers a course in swing trading. Now, Rich Dad Poor Dad is not pushing the stock market. I'm not going to push the stock market at you either. I don't have any money in the market. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. Just, not for me. But if I was, I would probably take that guy's course. It's very interesting. They took a lot about cryptocurrency in there. And Jay Bravo's a good follow on there. But those small independent content creators for travel and for business, there's content creators for anything else that you want to do, which for me, when I started thinking about what the side hustle was going to be, I had about 300, a little over 300 grand in cash and was looking to find a home for it. And here in Arkansas, buying a tract of timber seemed like a thing to do. Well, started following a guy called the Uneducated Economist. And he's literally just a middle class, lower middle class guy that works at like a lumber yard out in Oregon. And he is self-educated. He does money real well. He does follow some cryptocurrency, a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold. Not in the selling it. He doesn't sell anything, but he's not trying to sell you on the idea of going out and investing. But man, there's a real education to be had in those videos about how silver and gold actually work, paper silver versus real silver, and very interesting follow. But through following him, I knew that I probably didn't want to be in the timber industry. That if you bought 40 acres of timber and it was worth a cheeseburger today, in 5 years and 40 years, it's still going to be worth a cheeseburger. In other words, it'll keep track of inflation or deflation, but it's never really going to make a whole bunch of money. The most of Kiyosaki's examples in Rich Dad Poor Dad are around real estate. So I started looking at long-term real estate, and I looked at a lot of property here in Hot Springs, and I used some guys called Bigger Pockets, and they have a method called the Burr method of investing. And I followed their examples. I looked to buy two $100,000 homes and hold back about 25 grand to operate them. And I never could make any of the numbers work on the returns for what a bank loan would have been on those properties that I was paying cash for. I wouldn't even have probably have made back what a bank loan would have been. And it just seemed like a weird um, deal, but it didn't work in this market. Um, but if you're looking to do that, you're just going to have an opportunity. I would encourage you to go out and read all those deeper pocket books. And there's going to be a lot of foreclosures coming up due to C-19 and jumping in there, and you're going to be able to buy some houses for cheap. And there'll be a lot of other investors trying to buy those same houses. But what dissuaded me from doing any of that even 2 years ago, and you saw it here in the last 6 months, and you're going to see it some more, was the renters are not going to have to pay you. The government at some point is going to step in and say, hey, we can't put 10 million people out on the street. You don't owe the rent. And God help you if you owe the bank. I'm sure they'll come in and say, well, the bank loans are deferred. But if you were like me, a cash investor, now you were just paying somebody to live in your dwelling. Um, so even without COVID, I knew I wasn't going to do that, which led me, because of my passion for travel and having stayed in Airbnbs all over the world, to start looking at Airbnb here. And man, there's a lot of good resources on YouTube for Airbnb to educate yourself. The main one I looked at was a thing called STR University. And this guy was doing, I followed his model basically. He was buying unique property in unique destinations that no matter if the economy went up or down, you were always going to have people with some money that were going to come stay at these places. Um, I looked at condos on the lake, and condos on the lake were just like selling Wonder Bread. Everybody makes white bread. There's no differentiators in any of the condos on Lake Hamilton. And ultimately, you were in a race to the bottom for who would take the least per night, except for maybe about 20 properties. There are some $800 to $1,000 a night properties on the lake, and people have put a large investment in those properties to get them there, and they'll always rent, and they won't be subject to the downturn. But STR University, you were not going to find that. Now, you could read some books, but all the books said about the same thing. But this guy's, weekly video on it taught me a lot, and there was a lot to be, learned there from the, independent YouTube creators. And there really wasn't anything being sold to me by most of them. They were just, a passion project, much like this. So, in just to sort of wrap it up here, after Rich Dad Poor Dad, I really going out and looking for several YouTube creators on whatever you're passionate about, and looking at their businesses and how they run them will go a long ways. I don't care what it is, whether you're an artist wanting to open up a pottery shop. I guarantee you there's some little lady out there with the business that is running a YouTube channel where she talks about the ups and downs, do's and don'ts, where to find legal advice, etc. Um, So anyway, I think I'll end it right there, and we'll come back and talk about more books in the next one.